Strong values and strong opinions. The Mike Broomhead Show. KTAR News, 92.3 FM, and the KTAR News app.
All right, we have been talking about election integrity since the 2016 election, when Hillary Clinton said that the election was compromised by the Russians. And a lot of people don't call that election denial, and that's a political statement. Of course it's election denial. There are Democrats that still believe it. Stacey Abrams in Georgia believes that she was elected the governor of that state. So we know that both sides of the aisle have done it. Now, Republicans have taken it to a whole new level. There's no doubt about that. But going all the way back to 2016 now, we know that there have been questions about the integrity of our elections. In 2020, when Joe Biden beat Donald Trump to this day was going to trial for it in Georgia, that they're saying he tried to steal the election from Joe Biden. We're going to find out if there's any truth to him actually stealing it, or is he of the opinion that it was stolen from him. That will be decided by a court. Here in Arizona in 2022, especially in Maricopa County, big questions about the election and election integrity. Kari Lake still says the election was stolen from her. So those questions continue. The MCRC, or the Maricopa County Republican Committee, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but these are the county Republicans, and it is party representation. They have a rift with the AZ GOP, or the state party leadership in the executive committee, because they demanded, this wasn't a request, I've got messages, it was a demand that they vote to pull the election, the presidential preference election, the PPE, from the state and give the power to control that primary or presidential preference election, give that power to the state party and have the state party run it statewide. Now, just to be fair, other counties have weighed in, and I'm talking about County Republican Party. The Yuma, I think it was Yuma and Pima County GOP and others have come forward and said, this is a bad idea. We don't want any part of this. If it was voted on by the executive committee, all of the state party would have run this. So the MCRC seemed to be kind of on an island here a little bit. I'm going to talk about what my problems are behind the scenes, but I had on the Shelby Bush is her name. She is the first vice chair. And we had a nice conversation about why they believe this is necessary. So this is she said she believes many people are not confident in our elections.
I believe that the Republicans overwhelmingly have had a cry out, even those that are not completely sold out on the idea that our elections are fraudulent. They believe that there are some efficiency, some transparency, and some process issues within our elections. Overwhelmingly, even a lot of Democrats believe that. This was an opportunity for the Republican Party to lead the way and actually showing that we can do elections like they used to be done in a way where people felt confident on Election Day that the person that was announced the winner is actually the winner.
With all due respect, I'm going to rebut to this now. The reason why I don't do these rebuttals and have a big argument is because I want the person to have the time to answer as many questions as possible. Here is my pushback on that. We used to write checks. I used to mail checks as a way to pay my bills. I now use the internet. Now, can the internet be compromised? I'm sending information it's supposed to be a secure server. I'm giving credit card information or debit card information. Is that less secure? Do people not trust that? I know people that don't trust the internet, but so should we go back to writing checks? It used to be we didn't have chips on our debit cards. If you used a credit card, they had a machine that swiped it with a piece of carbon paper, and you didn't find out for weeks whether or not this card was declined. Should we go back to doing that? Should we go back to doing things manually because some people don't trust technology? I'm not arguing that people aren't concerned about election integrity. I'm arguing that do we go back to in-person, same-day voting? The big question about how is it that you make sure that people get to vote, that was the problem, is that they didn't have a plan. They said they had time to come up with a plan, but you wanted to pull this election and give the power to the state party to do this, but you didn't have some of the key questions that are so important, like how do veterans vote? Not veterans, military members vote. How do people that are incapacitated vote? How do people that live out of state, such as students, how do they vote? You have to have answers to those questions. You're asking the executive committee of the Arizona Republican Party to say, we're going to run this election. As a state, we're going to run the election. How? Well, we're not sure. We're sure about 95% of it, but the other 5% we're not sure. But of that 5%, it's the unanswered questions. I wouldn't have voted for it either. But here's where the problem lies behind the scenes. I've had so many people sharing with me messages and emails. Much like Maricopa County Board of Supervisors had, I don't want to use the word threat because that's too strong of a term, but they were inundated with messages about doing their job and what horrible people they are. Members of the executive committee in Arizona were sent messages because their personal email and personal cell phone numbers were sent out to people that are now sending them messages that if you don't vote in favor of us doing this, you're in on it. I don't know what they mean, in on what? Because the other part of this question I had for Ms. Bush was, are you saying Republicans are going to cheat? You're concerned that Republicans are going to cheat in a Republican primary. And she said, no, it's not about them. It's about the voting machines. Well, hang on a minute. She didn't say the word voting machines, but that the machines can be manipulated. Well, if that's the case, why wouldn't you be in favor of an early voting system where people can mail in their ballots, but having a hand count of all the ballots? Let the machine scan them, but then do a hand count to make sure that the hand count matches the machines, but that's not what they want. It's just confusing to me, and I'm anxious to see how it all plays out in the long run because it didn't happen this time, but I don't think it's going to be the last time that they try to do it.